Hi, this is my first video. This is Divine Sky Awakening Souls. Welcome to my channel. I'm starting this channel because I really want to share stuff that's related to metaphysical and the side of, stuff that is related to the divine part of our nature and um, the spirituality side of things. And I really, really, really love talking in depth about stuff like this. So I'm very passionate about it, and I just want to share my thoughts sometimes, maybe some advice sometimes on certain subjects and stuff like that. So welcome and thank you for watching. And today I'm going to speak about an experience that I had actually yesterday in my home. Um, just to give you an idea, yesterday was my day off from my normal job, and I am, chilling out at home with my daughter. She's 8, my oldest daughter. And so, and to give you a background and of me and who I am an empath. I am intuitive. I have clair-knowing abilities, and I'm a healer. I'm a Reiki practitioner, and I'm a massage therapist in the state of Florida. So, and I've been a therapist for almost 12 years now, going on pretty close. My anniversary is coming up in November. And so, yeah, so these things recently, I didn't know I was an empath until probably about 2 to 3 years ago, when I met someone who was an empath and knew they were and mentioned that to me, someone I actually thought was my twin flame, but now I think is more of a karmic soulmate, not so much a twin flame. So, yeah, and I realized all these abilities that I had, and I'm very, very highly sensitive, even from a very young age. I was always able to, um, be very sensitive to certain things, especially growing up in a harsh type family that I grew up in, and cry very easily, even till to this day, even, very affected by certain emotions and certain feelings from other people. So, and recently I figured this out, and I've kind of come into my own and become more of in my career as a massage therapist, working with people more on an energetic level, even though I might be doing physical massage with them. So, yeah, so I usually, with people I work with, I'm always working with them on an energetic level, even if I'm not doing Reiki per se, like working with their energy, pulling out negative energy, possibly even clearing out and scooping out their certain chakras that they've got issues with. But anyway, yeah, so I have empath abilities. I'm very intuitive in the way that I can walk into a room and feel like, the energy that's going on and, throughout the room, like people that's in there. And sometimes the energy of physical places too, which I think sometimes they can coincide with each other, depending on who's occupying the space. So, and yeah, so I am very sensitive to energies, and usually I can really read a person pretty well. Um, I can't always interpret. I'm still like figuring out that part of my being, like how I interpret things sometimes. And sometimes I just kind of know something about someone, like for instance, usually it's people that I work with, doing, massage with, someone I meet. I sometimes you can just kind of feel like energy kind of feels off, and man, it might just be an imbalance in their energy. I think so, but it's hard for me to interpret it. So, but yeah, I'm still learning in that part. But so yeah, and I in no way, I've never had a mediumship, so that kind of coincides with what I'm going to be talking about today. Just to let you know, I've never had a mediumship, although I am considering it, uh, just because of my abilities. Do have moments, a lot of moments actually, where thoughts kind of pop up into my head, and out of nowhere, and with no connection in any way with my thinking pattern. And next thing I know, it either happens or uh, it, manifests in some way. And sometimes I just know things. I've had a couple premonition dreams where things have come to pass, or I've dreamt about people who come in contact with me in my life, stuff like that. So, but anyway, so yesterday I was cooking and in the kitchen, and my daughter was sitting in the living room doing her homework. So I was cooking, and I felt someone touch my body, and I was like, I literally thought my daughter was behind me. I even turned around thinking that I would see her directly behind me, and she was not there. She was in the living room. I'm like, I was like, I said to my daughter, yeah, I said to my daughter, I was like, Sarah, my daughter, I'm like, were you just in here? She's like, no, you know. So I turned back around and went back to what I was doing, and and then like within a minute or two, like I felt something touch me again. And that time I was like, okay, no one's in here in the kitchen with me for sure. So I turned around and I was like, stop touching me. Jeez. Yeah. And yeah, so my daughter was like, Mom, are you talking to me? I was like, no, I'm not talking to you. Yeah, the dog's in here with me. I was like, I'm not talking to the dog either. I'm talking to whoever, whatever is touching me right now, because it's not invited. And yeah, so come to find out, we started like a whole conversation about the little girl that's like hanging around our home, sometimes, which we started. Well, my daughter has some um, clear audience abilities. Like she'll hear stuff sometimes and hear other voices like whisper her name. And uh, sometimes she even sees stuff. She says she has some clairvoyant abilities, as well as being empathic as well, I think. So, yeah, so we've had these conversations from time to time, like, okay, I'm like, you know, and this is like normal for me and her. Like, we have conversations about this little girl that's like, you know, like standing in our window, just like, okay, what is she? How old is she? And all this, trying to figure out this information. And it's just kind of funny because, like, that right there shows that we're like way different, not the normal like family. Not any normal family would have like random conversations about a spirit that's just hanging around our home. So it's funny. But she and I started talking about the little girl, and I was like, okay, you know what? Because this happened a couple of times. Like, I actually, one time, actually saw something out of the corner of my eye, and that's when it came out from my daughter that she had been seeing her for the last couple months. Probably happened about maybe 3-4 weeks ago. And yeah, I saw a light by the the living room window, and I've got like a very long curtain hanging drapery over the window, and saw it's like something out of the corner of my eye, and it caused me to like look over, and and I saw it multiple times, so I kind of like looked back over, and then I saw it again. So I like stopped watching what I was watching on YouTube, and like, what? So I called Sarah over. I'm like, Sarah, do you ever see anything by the window over here? She's like, yeah, I see a little girl there sometimes. So that's when it became apparent. And I actually switched jobs a couple months ago, so I don't know if maybe this little girl followed me or my daughter, like from somewhere. There was possibly me. It wasn't invited per se because I had never like communicated with any spirits before. Like, I can usually feel that something's there. I can feel presence, but I usually ignore it because if I'm by myself, or if it's, especially if it's like dark or nighttime, then I'll kind of get a little weirded out and creeped out. So I usually just try to ignore it, you know. But when something's touching you, it's hard to ignore. You have to kind of acknowledge it. So, um, but yeah, my daughter said that she had started seeing this little girl like a couple months ago, right when I switched jobs, which at the other job that I was at, the one before, there was actually a little girl hanging out there in the establishment, the massage establishment I worked at, and so yeah, I don't know if maybe it's the same girl or I don't know exactly, but and we're not really sure like where she came from, if because my daughter, we've been living here for 2 years now, and like my daughter just started seeing her in the last like couple months. So not really sure where she came from. But anyway, after everything yesterday, I decided to go ahead and communicate a little bit and just tell her, that, you know, that I acknowledge her communication to, I felt like she would just wanted to be acknowledged. So I did that. I said out loud, and kind of communicated to her. It's like, so I acknowledge your communication and thank you. And if you have anything to say, please, now is your time to say, get across any message, or if you have a message to get out. So, which I've never really done that, but yeah. But I wanted her to know that I was acknowledging her existence. So we think that she's definitely a little girl, of course, but I did ask her how old she was, and my daughter got the answer that she was 9, which is, might be about right. and my daughter, thinks that possibly from before, not like us like talking to her, but she might have like suffered in the way that she died. She's gotten like an image of what what her death was like. So I won't go into detail what that was, but yeah. And then another time, I was right after, like the morning after all this happened, and we were talking about this little girl being in our home. I was sleeping in my bed, and my daughter she was sleeping next to me. And this night was kind of funky for me because I was tossing and turning. So I actually had a pillow over my head. And so my arm was kind of like back, like hugging the pillow over my head. And well, my daughter was in the bed with me, so I wasn't alone. But my daughter was sound asleep. But anyway, my arm was back like that over the pillow, and like I literally like felt something like go like this and touch my arm, and I was asleep. And it woke me up, and I was like, Sarah, did you just touch me? I don't think she did, because I was sleeping on this side, and she was next to me over here. So, and for my arm to be back over my head like that, and it felt like it was coming from this direction, not over here. So that was weird. But because the night before this whole thing started, my daughter said that she got an image of the little girl like standing over my bed looking at me while I was asleep. A little creepy, but okay. So yeah, so definitely interesting. So we reached out, and I'm going to stage today because I was feeling a little creeped out last night after everything. So but anyway, just clear out any like negative energy, which there's no harm intended, but she's just like hanging out and whatever. Yeah, so interesting. But see, this is the kind of stuff I'm interested in. Like, I don't communicate with spirits too often, but ever, really. Now, with my spirit guides, yes, sometimes I do that. and I have channeled before. It's not like a habit that I've recently, it's something I need to explore and like get better at. But yeah, so I'm really interested in like the stuff that I'm gonna be talking about. Gonna be bringing you guys some interesting topics and in dealing with the metaphysical side of things, and you know, it's gonna be fun. So hopefully you'll stick around, subscribe if you want to, and like the video if you liked it. This was kind of a general, just me, like a vlog type thing, talking about our experience with the little girl in our home. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here, and I will be posting another video very soon. And thanks so much for watching, and you guys have a great, awesome day. Bye.